everybody. It is time for us to do another live here on TikTok. Today, we're doing something very special. I wanted to let you all know that today I'm a guest on a podcast with fabulous Alexis Sterling. I love the name Sterling. My maiden name happens to be Goldwasser, so I love the fact that we
Oh,
can do this
yeah.
together. And
Yeah.
so I will not be answering or be able to answer your questions today, but you are absolutely welcome to join on our podcast. Alexa is going to be recording and posting it another time. She will share it with me, and then I'll be able to share it with you all as well. But we will be answering questions and how it relates to relationships and how to do self-care and take care of yourself so that when you are in a relationship, whether now or in the future, you've got yourself a priority and know what to do. So without further ado, I'm so glad you guys are here. Alexa, here
Hey.
we go.
Hey. Hey, how are you doing? So you've already introduced me, which I do appreciate that, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself on the podcast. So I'm
Absolutely.
Alexis Sterling with Sterling Possibilities, and I'm blessed today to have my guest. And I don't want to say your name wrong. So is it?
It's actually Mahal, like the Taj Mahal.
I love that. Okay. Go for it. So do you mind introducing yourself a little bit, and then we'll go with questions.
Absolutely, with pleasure. First of
No,
all, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much
thank you.
for the invite. And it really is so much fun for me. And for me, I'm all about how
Yeah.
to have fun, and so it doesn't feel like work. So this is
Good.
great. Short version is my parents are from Argentina. I grew up in Hong Kong. I've had a love and awareness of seeing relationships all around me, and I love the fact that I can now take that into what I'm doing now as a relationship coach. I basically believe in education. I have a
Mm.
baccalaureate a bachelor's from UC Irvine, baccalaureate, a master's degree. But my real most proudest moment is the day I became a mom and the day I became certified as a life coach. So those
Oh,
two, the day that changed my life was actually the day that I got married. But I'm going to talk about that later on.
that's
But
awesome.
really, yeah. So it's super fun to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do appreciate you coming and definitely being open to my questions. And here we go. You
Here we
ready?
go. I
It's like a
am.
game. It's a game show. So, what do you do for self care, and why, when, and how frequent?
Oh, I love that. Well, first of all, I want to say happy birthday to all of our listeners. And everyone's like, but it's not my birthday. So why am I saying happy birthday? Because for me, birthday is not about the birth date, the day that you were born. It's
Mhm.
about honoring your birth because the fact that you were born shows that you have every right to live in this beautiful world of ours. You are entitled to be queen and of royalty and to honor the fact that you were born. So for me, every day is a birthday, not just your birth date. The day that you were born happens to be the day you entered this world, but I truly believe in honoring the day that you were born every day throughout the year, not just on your birthday.
I love that. That is so awesome. That is a great perspective. I really tell me. Yeah. Well, let's keep going because you.
Well, and my
Mm,
philosophy with that is the same thing with Valentine's Day. My husband and I don't
uh,
celebrate Valentine's Day on February 14th.
mm,
We celebrate our love for each other every day. There's some days where we love each other less or show
yeah.
our love less, but it is every day. In fact, the wedding date to me, all too often people are like, oh, when's your anniversary? Mine
Mhm.
happens to be March 5th. We just celebrated our 24th year anniversary.
Wow.
But for me,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's not about the date itself. The
Mhm.
wedding day, yes, was one day, but the wedding is the emphasis of the wedding date. And that to me is to focus on the marriage, not the wedding date. That's one day out of the entire
Yeah.
year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that really what keeps your bond going is that you actually do that. And that's huge.
It's
That's huge.
huge.
I love.
I would say there are many things that keep our bond together, but it is the one thing that does not take over is the
Mhm.
actual wedding date
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah. Where somebody goes, oh my gosh, you forgot the wedding date. No, you don't
Yes.
love
And then
me.
they get
No,
it
no,
right.
no, no. No, every day you get to see someone is a blessing. So to me, even if they irritate you for that day, that's okay
That's
because
okay.
they're special that came in your life, and being together like that is just huge.
If
And
in
not a lot of
fact
marriages last that long.
that's right. And I love what you said. And you know what? If they don't annoy you, that to me is a red flag, right?
Yep.
If they
Mhm.
don't annoy you, if that means, are they walking on eggshells? Are they having to feel and be perfect around you, and you vice
Mhm.
versa? I
Yeah.
I I often get asked what's my philosophy on long distance relationship,
Mm.
LDR, and one of the reasons I am not 100% for it is because when you do get together, everyone acts perfect. Everyone wants to
Yeah.
make sure that
Right.
because you're together just a few days or a week, you
Mhm.
want to make sure everyone gets along. No one actually wants to bring up anything that could be a trigger or sensitive
Mm.
topic or have a difficult conversation, because after all, you're only together for the weekend or for a week.
Right.
So you want it to go perfect. And that's not genuine. So for me,
Mhm.
LDR relationship, if there's a way to do it that when you do get together, you show up without makeup,
Mhm.
and you have honest conversations about what's bothering you, what's upsetting you, what
Mhm.
ruined your day the day before, that to me is fine. But how to make sure you do that authentically and genuinely without the pressure of, let's make sure this weekend's perfect. So yes, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. Um, what is your go-to?
Can you be more specific? What do you mean, my go-to?
So for self-care, do you have
Oh,
like something specifically that you use as far as your go-to?
oh my gosh, I 100%. So first of all, my philosophy is that every day is the day to have self-care. It's not just on
Mhm.
the weekend. It's not just when you go on vacation. It's not just on a Friday night when you're done with the
Mhm.
work. For me, I live my life around what you had just mentioned, self-care.
Mhm.
So for me, in fact, I've commented on my TikToks many times. People will say, "Well, when are you going to go and do live?" I, I live my life with
Mhm.
self care every day, and then
That's awesome.
everything else around it accommodates my life, the self care. And I make sure that I'm in love and happy with everything I do every day. So, for example, at the end of the day, I get to say gratitude of all the things that I loved that I had done that day, and then the next day, I plan something that will make me happy, will bring joy, so that I'm excited to wake up the next morning. And it's this my same philosophy on a
Mhm.
vacation. I don't end a vacation without
Mhm.
knowing when the next trip is going to be. Otherwise,
Mhm.
it's too sad to end that vacation.
Yeah. So I get
So
that. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no problem. So, for example, I think that a little goes a long way. A
Mhm.
little is I call it the dulce de leche. My parents are from Argentina, and my
Leche.
father was very good about taking care of himself physically, and he stayed away from sugar. And
Mhm.
guess what? He got killed as a pedestrian by a truck. Literally, the old saying, got hit by a truck. That
Seriously?
I mean, like,
Wow.
it's not funny, but that's how my
No,
dad died.
no, it's not. Yeah.
And that's how my dad died. And as soon as I heard, I looked up and I said, I bet you wish you had more dulce de leche,
Mhm.
because it was his favorite food.
Yes.
And he was
Yeah.
so good
That
about
was it's a
abstaining.
great dessert. Yeah.
It's a delicious dessert. In fact,
Yes.
my husband and I went to Argentina for our honeymoon, and we promised ourselves that every night we'd have steak and dulce de leche for dessert. You'd be
That
surprised how
was
many
awesome.
different dulce de leche desserts they have other than flan. So, but my point with that is, so I'm not saying, great, have dulce de leche or whatever is your vice for
Mhm.
dessert or treat or junk food, but a little bit. I think
Mhm.
that if he had had a little bit and not been
Yeah.
so healthy, he still would have, right? I mean, we
Right.
don't know our destiny, but what, you could be hit by a truck, and then what? So my philosophy is, a little bit is better than nothing, and a
Mhm.
little bit is better than too much.
I love that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you gotta live your life, and that's my whole thing is trying to bring people to understand that the self-worth, the self-care, the self, love, find some happiness because,
But
life could be very short or you could have a short time with somebody and you need to find a way to,
that's right.
enjoy
So
your life and
enjoy your
not
life.
bottle it up. Yeah,
Alexa,
enjoy
what's
your
the
life.
thing what do you love that you're like, yeah, that's right. I need to do a little bit more than nothing, but a little less than too much. What is that for you, Alexa?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. I love
I'm just
that.
gonna call it out chocolate.
100%.
No, I think the biggest thing for me, and that's part of my journey, is because lost several people in a short period of time and kind of
Mm,
lost
so
my
sorry.
self-worth and and things in life, and I decided to make a journey, and I
Mm.
would start going out and ask people when I just happened to be out going, what are you doing for self-care? And people's eyes would be going, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, look, we got a little thing going on. And I didn't feel alone because I started thinking, if I'm making people think and open their mind, that's helping me. And then I want them to pass it on because there's so much that we forget about ourselves, especially when COVID came, that we forget that we're human and that we need to take care of ourselves, even in really bad times. And, you're important. And if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody else. And I'm kind of a caregiver. So, I have to remember myself. I have to remember that, sometimes I have to say no,
100%.
and put my foot down and say, it's got to be some me time in here, people.
Alexa, I
So,
love that. And I think so many people can learn from that. I always say when we say on and you spell it backwards, basically you're always on. So when we say no, it means I'm going to focus on me. If we don't know how to say no,
yeah.
basically what we're saying is we're always on. And that is so dangerous because we cannot be on all the time. It's not sustainable. And I have
Mm.
two numbers that I focus on in order to avoid always being on if when the situation of saying no was
Mhm.
difficult back, I would say in my
Mhm.
20s. And that's the
Mhm.
number 3 and the number 10. So for me, I do things in threes. I have 3 shampoos that I rotate. I
Okay.
think that it's really important to not have one that you love, but
Mhm.
to have 3. First of all, I think the more that you rotate, I have 3 soaps that I use for cleansers, for example.
Good.
Um, if I'm having if I received bad news or if my husband did annoy me, right,
Mhm.
which happens
Mhm.
and vice versa. I
Yeah.
know, I'm not that I'm sure. I know him. I do this. I have a friend that I call that will 100% always side with me, and then I call
Mhm.
3 people for different perspective.
Perspectives.
But not to gossip but for
Oh,
me to
no.
learn, for me to have
Mhm.
insight and perspective, because my husband may have just given me his perspective, but I'm unable to see beyond that, right?
Right,
So
right.
I think 3 is really magical. That's just to give you some example.
Mhm.
Another, and of course, every 3 days do something special, right? Every 3 weeks, every 3 months, so forth.
I like that.
The other number for me is the number 10. So I always say, you know what? I'm going to clean the kitchen in 10 minutes and let's see what happens.
Uh,
I'm going to work out or do some exercises at home for 10 minutes and see what happens. I'm going to do qigong for 10 minutes. I'm going to do low impact for 10 minutes. It is amazing how much can get done in 10 minutes, including hygiene. Whatever the routine is,
mm,
sometimes we think, oh my gosh, everything, especially with what we're seeing on social
mm,
media, it takes hours. But if we
mhm.
just think, I'm just going to do 10 minutes, you could get a lot done in 10 minutes. So for me, and the other thing that I like to note is, and anything that you love to do, double it.
Mhm.
So being intimate with my husband, my philosophy is allow minimum
Mhm.
20 minutes before we even get to any department. Like make a hundred
All
percent
right.
before
Yeah, I
20
like
minutes.
that.
Yeah, I think that it's really important.
Mhm.
My philosophy is, um, we don't have to be the only one to arrive ready.
Right.
We can say to them, I'd like you to help me get ready. And you
Mhm.
know what? So
Yep.
when we really love it, double that, double the amount,
Double it.
double the time. That's right. So anyway,
I
that's
like that.
maybe
I
TMI for that
That's
department. I
okay,
want.
that's alright. You girlfriend, I can get people to open up and can tell me all kinds of things, you'd be surprised,
I
which
love
I
that.
love that. I love that because that helps other people hear things.
Yeah.
So,
So back to
alright.
self-care. So
Mhm,
3 and 10. So anything from 3 lunches with some friends or
mhm,
friends with or lunch with 3 of my friends. Another possibility is I love to go on a drive. That to me is my therapy. So I will do a 30-minute drive, for example, or a 30-minute walk. Or it's amazing how when you really think 3 or 10, you can
mhm.
do a lot.
I like that. I like that. I was going with 5 minutes a day for people. You're going for 10. I thought they could start out with just 5 minutes. Just do 5
5
minutes for
minutes is
yourself.
fabulous. Right.
Even it's baby steps and then start running. That's the
Right.
way I see it.
Yeah, I
So,
think that, I mean, I've had my showers where I've had like 5 shampoos to choose from, and that can be
mhm.
overwhelming. And then we tend to go to the same one over and over. By the way, I also have 3 toothpastes that I use, 3 different ones, and I rotate.
You're killing me.
so, so, yeah, I think 3 is realistic. When you really love something,
Mhm.
go for the 10, or, or if you need to do something, right, clean the kitchen, do the laundry, unload the dishwasher, whatever it is, go get your car washed, right? Whatever it
Right,
might be.
right. Whatever it might be, just get out of the house and do something and
Yeah,
start your journey. Just
that's
it's
right.
that's all you have to do is just start. So I'm gonna ask you another question.
All right.
So, how does it make you feel and why?
How does self-care make me feel? I,
And why?
you know, I I love that question, but I'm going to answer it with a question. Which
Okay.
comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? So,
Yeah.
you see where I'm going with this?
Mhm.
So, is it the self-care that makes me feel X, or is it
Mhm.
that I, right? Or is it that I feel X and therefore I want to do the self-care? Right? Because there have been a lot of people struggling with mental illness. There are people who have,
Mhm.
like you said, experienced a loss, or financial loss, personal loved ones loss, health
Mhm.
reasons. And so when we're in that place, we're not motivated to do the self care. And
You're
therefore, which
correct.
comes first? The self care then can't take care of us because we're not
Mhm.
even doing the 3-minute version of the self care.
Yes, and that's true. That's true because we've lost ourselves and we don't know how to reposition ourselves and that's what's important, which I'm trying to put out there as well, is that it's okay to go see a therapist. It's not a stigma. Even though there's still a stigma, it's not a stigma. It means that you're making a healthy choice because sometimes you need someone to listen to you. It's a third party. And sometimes that person can bring you about even in a week of spiraling down, to a place that it's dark. And I want to bring the light out. I want people to see that there's light and that there's hope. And if I can pull myself out of the darkness, took me a minute, but I'm
Yeah.
still not saying that I don't have days, but I really want people to know that it's okay, to seek. Even if you even go on TikTok, I mean, my goodness, the TikTok alone, the people that I have found, that's what I've chosen to interview because the messages are huge, and that's really what helps so many people is to listen, even whether they join a program or not. Just listening to that person speak, it could be just for that one day, and it resonated because it helped them for something they were going through that day, and that's huge.
It
That's
is
huge.
huge. And Alexa, I love that you shared that. I always say to my TikTok community, basically, everyone out there, everyone is a 10 out of 10. And
Hmm.
my role is to remind everyone that they are a 10 out of 10. You're a 10 out of 10. I'm a
Thank
10
you.
out of 10. Everyone's a 10 out of 10. And if for whatever reason you don't think someone's a 10 out of 10, they are still a 10 out of 10. They are just not your 10 out of 10.
Right, right,
So
right.
for me, I think you're 100% right. How to basically reach out, and on those days that's really hard to get out of bed, all you want to do is sleep in or take a nap,
Hmm.
how to just basically say, okay, today's not the 10-minute day, today's a 3-minute day. And what do
Yeah.
I do for 3 minutes? Because when we start thinking, oh my gosh, and I have to do self-care,
Hmm.
self-care can seem so intimidating,
Very overwhelming.
very
Hmm.
overwhelming. So the chicken or the egg, are you going to be motivated to implement self-care, or does the
Hmm.
self-care then give, right, it's a ripple, it has a ripple
It's
effect.
it's a ripple effect for sure. It
Right.
does. It does.
Right. So
Yeah.
you asked me, how do I feel when I do self-care? I really want to respond with, it's not how I feel
Mhm.
as a result of doing self-care.
Mhm.
It is it's the other way round. I call it intrinsic versus extrinsic power.
Okay.
So a lot of times people out there say, oh my gosh, they forgot to give me a birthday card, or oh my gosh, it was our anniversary and they didn't give me a gift or bring me flowers, or oh my gosh, my friend did this or my friend didn't do that, or my boss or my work or my colleague. And here's the unfortunate news. Anytime you care about something that is with outside of you, whenever you care about something that is outside of you, that has the power to ruin your day or
Mm,
make your day, that is called extrinsic power.
mm,
Because what will happen is then they are in charge on whether you're happy, you feel joy, you feel good about
right.
yourself, or they have the power. You've handed them the power to ruin your day, to
Mm,
make it be worse. So I always say eliminate all extrinsic power and focus on intrinsic power. Intrinsic power means only you have the power to make or break your day. Only you have the power to bring joy or to ruin your day. And if I'm going to have a bad day, I want to make sure I'm the reason I had a bad day, not because anyone else. And honestly, I've never had a bad day, and I'll tell you why in a second. But the most important thing we can do is increase our intrinsic power. Find the intrinsic power, create intrinsic power, build intrinsic power, and eliminate all extrinsic power. It could be anything like the a show got canceled, or the person you were really looking forward to meet for lunch got sick and
mm,
can't meet. You don't want it to have ruined your day, right?
mm,
So how to, and I'm not saying you don't care. I'm
mm,
saying there's a big difference between someone else having the power to bring joy to your life and making sure that you are the one that has the power to bring joy. So if someone else out there does or says something, it can't affect you, it can't impact you. I
right.
remember I was on a live on TikTok and someone called me grandma. I understood very well. They were trying to criticize, and it certainly was not a compliment. But you could be criticizing me. You could
Mm,
flat out be giving me a criticize. And I'm one of those people that won't even receive the criticism. I turned it around and I said, I am so honored that you just said grandma, because for me, it is one of the most important roles I can have for my life, and that is to become a grandma. And by you now calling me grandma, you've just made my day, and I'm honored to have that title. I'm
mhm,
sure they were not thrilled at all to hear how happy I responded, to hear how I had responded with enthusiasm, love,
mhm.
support, and
Right,
excitement.
right. So you've read the
So
book of Four Agreements
you know what? I haven't read that. For me, it is my philosophy. I have been doing that since I
your
was
whole
little,
life.
my
Well,
whole life.
a lot of people don't know that, and actually, that book, was to me a little bit of empowering because it was able to
Alexa,
let
I
things
lost you for a
roll off and
second.
not take it personally.
Okay, there you are. Can you say
Yeah.
that again? I couldn't hear
Yes,
you.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm freezing. I was able through that book to let things roll off and not take things personally. And that was
That's
huge for me because it was something my son kept bringing up. You're like, "You're taking everything personally." And it's like, "Well, I'm going through a lot, and I'm like, "Do you not understand? I'm struggling here. Could you throw me a bone?" And you're like, because you're taking things personal and you just need to
right.
look at the positive and be grateful then to what is the past. And the past you
That's
can't change. And it is what it is. You have to accept it for what it is. But today is present and tomorrow is a gift. So,
beautiful.
and
My
that's just
father just showed up by you saying that. He would always
see,
say,
that's
"Yesterday's
awesome.
history, tomorrow's is a mystery. Today is the present. That's why it's a gift." That's
I love
beautiful.
that. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
Eleanor
huge.
Roosevelt. Eleanor
Hmm.
Roosevelt said that originally. As you're saying that, one of the things I wanted to mention is we
Hmm.
all sometimes need to just carry what I call an invisible raincoat. And when the rain
Yeah.
comes, you just let it
Mm,
slide off. Let
yeah.
it just slide off.
Just let it slide
Just
off.
slide off.
Yep. Mine
Yeah,
was
you
a
could.
Teflon coat. I just lost it for a short
Oh,
minute. I was like,
oh,
"Can I have the Teflon back, please?"
I love that. Teflon works.
But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing is,
As long as it's not
I
Velcro
own
where it
Yeah,
sticks to you,
no,
right?
no, no, no. I just, you find that you're human,
That's
and
right. We all are
sometimes
human. We
you,
all absolutely are
find that
human. Yes,
you're fragile sometimes, and it's okay. You can pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and keep going. And if I can help one person with my interview with you or any of the other interviews, then that was my
exactly.
purpose,
I
because
appreciate that. What you're doing
my
for the
whole
world is
thing is
incredible.
just, I just want the movement and for people to see the self-care and love themselves and know that, they're important. That's the
I
biggest
agree.
thing for me. My message
Alexa,
is
every
important.
now and then I lose you. I'm not sure
Okay.
if it's on my end or on your end regarding, well,
Okay.
let me rephrase that. It's not that I'm losing you. I found you
Is
and
it
now we're
glitching?
found for
Oh,
each other. It is
no.
glitching.
It's
So,
glitching. Okay.
and in fact, I
Let me
have a
just
saying
get out of
about
one of those
that.
things and see if
If
that
you want
helps any.
someone to walk, don't
Anything?
say
Nope.
don't run, right?
Run?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Okay.
say don't run, you say walk. So my apologies for even saying glitch. I that I
Oh,
lost
no,
you.
no.
It's that I couldn't
It's okay.
hear you.
That's
Yeah,
okay. It's all right. It happens. It's the computer couldn't been on too long.
yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you another question because,
Okay, I'm ready.
that's how
Do
we
you
go.
should we do you want to get off and start again, or do we continue?
We can continue. And what I'll do is I'm
Okay,
going to edit it. So yeah,
okay,
I
great. So,
think we
but you
didn't.
can hear me. You can hear
Yeah. Oh,
me.
yeah. I can hear you. Yeah, I can
Excellent.
hear you.
Okay,
And
great.
I can see your pretty face.
Oh, and
Yay.
I can see your beautiful face. Yeah,
Oh, thank you. Okay.
thank you.
Do you know your self-worth?
100%. But I think that it is part of my concept that I know a lot of women and men are
Mhm.
looking to build their confidence, are looking to understand how to create that confidence. And my philosophy of celebrating your birthday is not about your birth date, but your birth. It's an automatic, you are a 10 out of 10. So, what I want to say about that is, for example, when every time I dated someone and they became an ex,
Yeah.
my perspective wasn't, oh no, poor me. I never had a victim mentality. I had
Hmm.
a victorious mentality. And my mentality was, wow, if I can get that, and he's
Hmm.
kind and charming and loving and handsome, what else is out there for me? And I just kept raising the bar. And every time I'd meet my next, when they became my ex, I just was even more impressed with myself and my situation. And when I met my husband, that was the first time I wasn't interested in raising the bar anymore or looking to see
Aw,
who else was out there. I just felt like I had hit the jackpot when I met my husband.
that's so
And
awesome.
and that's in fact how I knew I was done looking. So, but I think that what's really important is to understand the chicken or the egg, which comes first? Do you meet someone of your caliber, whether it's a friend or
Mhm.
colleague or coworker or your employment, whether you're self-employed or you work for someone or your life partner? Which comes first, right? Is it that you've met someone amazing and therefore now you know and realize you're a 10 out of 10? Or is it that you first have to believe that you're a 10 out of 10 in order to meet this wonderful person or have the ideal career or job or home or whatever it is for you? So, for me, it is really important to remember the birth rather than the birth date, right?
Mhm.
And I will say this, if someone was to say to me, gosh, are you really going to wear that green shirt out? My philosophy isn't, oh my gosh, you're right. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
It is really important to understand it's an opinion, and everyone has
Exactly.
a right to their opinion. So just because someone else might not think you're a 10 out of 10 does not mean you're not a 10 out of 10.
Exactly. It's true.
So, so, and when that happens, let's say, I don't know, someone breaks up with you and you're like, oh no, does that mean I don't know, whatever you might say to yourself. I'd like, I recommend the person to just say, oh, it's just a green shirt. They just don't like my green shirt, right? It's how to just understand the semantics of it all.
Exactly. Exactly. And honestly, in my opinion, I'm gonna wear what I want. So,
And if you
you
are at that place that you can wear what you want,
yes.
then if someone's not interested in you, that doesn't
Yeah.
reflect anything on you. It's
No,
just
not at
that they
all.
don't like the green shirt. That's not a
It's
match.
okay. I called it when I was dating a science project. And, I'd listen to you and then I go, yeah, next,
Next, 100%.
and keep it moving because, not everybody's going to fit in
That's
what you
right.
see for yourself and what
That's right.
level you put yourself at. And
Yeah.
not that that person needs to rise to your level. If they're not at your level, then they weren't meant to be in your life because they'll always have a problem with the level that you're at. Not that you put yourself way up there. It's just the standards or what you care about yourself. And that
I
has to
al-
do with self-worth.
that's right. And Alexa, I always say how to find the one, how to find your life partner. There's two things I want to say. First of all, a lot of times we think, oh my gosh, I want to find my soulmate. Where's my soulmate? How will I find them? How will I recognize that they are my soulmate? I truly believe in the following. It is the Humpty Dumpty be put back together again. We are each our own soulmate. And one of the reasons why we're longing to find that is because along the way, whether as a child or in our 20s or whenever, part of our soul, every time we had trauma or a wound or a broken heart, part of our soul got broken, torn, separated, ripped from us. And what we're trying to do now is spend the rest of our life putting together our soul, putting together Humpty Dumpty, that not even the king's men could do it, right?
Yeah.
We need to do that. And so for me, we meet our life partner when we are whole, WHOLE.
Mhm.
Now, someone said, oh, well, does that mean I have to be perfectly healed from my childhood wounds? No, we don't have to be perfectly healed, but if the whole HOLE is too deep when we choose whom we marry or whom
Mhm.
we choose to live this life with, then what we're doing is we run the risk that we're going to pull them into our deep dark rabbit hole and go down there together. So better to be WHOLE. And how to put your Humpty Dumpty soul back together again, and understand that we are each our own soulmate. The second is how to know if they're the one, how to know how to choose. There are 5 areas that I'm insistent that need to match, and that's physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially. And when the 5 of these areas match, it doesn't matter about anything that can change: their career, their job, their car, where they live, because all that can change. My husband is incredibly successful. He's a corporate lawyer. And after
Mhm.
9/11, he got laid off, as so many other millions of people did,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
we were very fortunate. We have savings. I mean, we're very
Mhm.
comfortable. However, it is so important to not marry someone based on anything that can change, for the
Yeah.
obvious, including looks, for example.
Mhm.
So what does matter is these 5 areas: physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially.
I love that. I love the get the 5. That's cool. Thank
Get
you
the
very much. So
5.
I'm gonna ask you another question.
Okay.
Okay. What benefit does gratitude bring about and why?
I am 1,000%, not 100%, 1,000% believer in gratitude. In fact, because I've never had a victim mentality, I don't know, I
Mhm.
didn't even know that was a thing until I started
Yeah.
talking to other people. I
Yeah.
didn't know there were even people that went there. I have just always been grateful. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that happened. That was such an
Mhm.
amazing surprise. Oh,
Mhm.
that was so fun. And I
Mhm.
just, since I've been little, been doing gratitudes. And in fact, when I was younger, and I've had a difficult childhood, doesn't matter
Mhm.
the details. We
Mhm.
all have. I think we've all got a story. I think
Yeah.
everyone is worthy of writing a book, or a movie. And everyone's got a
Mine's a
story.
trilogy.
Exactly. Yes. So, as a child, I remember just thinking, some of the listeners might not know the
Mhm.
song, but Barry Manilow song, I
Yeah.
Made It Over the Right,
Yeah.
I made it over the rain, right? Like, and there's the rainbow showing up with the rain. And I didn't focus on the rain, I just focused on the rainbow. And I think that having that mindset of you get to choose. Are you going to
Hmm.
choose to focus on the rain, or are you going to choose to focus on the rainbow? I've been doing
Right.
this since I don't 10 years old, 11 years old.
Hmm.
I mean, before. and and I think that gratitude is a choice. And and you could either have a victim mentality or a victorious mentality. And for
Hmm.
me, one of the reasons why I have a victorious mentality is because I'm in charge of my life, because
Hmm.
I have intrinsic power, right?
Hmm.
I don't I there isn't a situation where I'll where I feel, oh no, poor me. On the contrary,
Hmm.
I feel the universe and the world is always working in my favor to
Hmm.
help me. I'll give you a perfect example. I was at an In-N-Out drive-through a few years
I
ago.
know this.
I love In-N-Out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just as I was almost entering the point of no return with the
Hmm.
drive-through, an employee came out saying everyone has to back up because the car got stalled at the cashier section. Can you believe that? And they all have to back up because they literally they can't
Yeah.
move. And the where I was situated on that drive-through line,
Turn.
I could instantly get out of the lane
Oh, that
and
was cool.
park and go inside In-N-Out and order my food.
Good for you.
And I thought to myself, and I literally made a
Hmm.
TikTok on this, and I said, how lucky am I? I'm so grateful.
Hmm.
And because I automatically assume life will work for me. I
Right.
automatically assume I'm going to have a victorious day.
Hmm.
Things are going to be great. That's my mentality,
Hmm.
period, right?
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally, mentally,
Hmm.
spiritually, financially, mentally, that is who I am. And
Hmm.
so I literally, I remember one time the kids and I was driving the kids to school, and lo and behold, there's a flat tire. And instead of being upset, I literally went into a place of gratitude and I said, kids, I'm so grateful. This is why we always leave 30 minutes before. Kids, I'm so grateful that taxis and Ubers exist, that we can do that. And because we always leave early, we allow room for anything that could happen. And
Hmm.
we left with it plenty of time that one was in elementary school, the other one
Hmm.
was in middle school. I had plenty of time to drop them both at their separate schools and
Oh,
take the same ride and go and get my husband's car that was parked at the public transportation. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area,
okay.
and I could get his car, and I had a car for the rest of the day. Again, victim versus victorious mentality. I'm
Hmm.
victorious, period.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a choice. Yeah.
It's a choice, and for some people, it's a journey because they have to understand that they can be a victim, they can be a survivor, or they can be a thriver. So you
Right.
have to decide
Right.
which one do you want to be, and do you
That's
want to be your
right.
biggest champion or your worst enemy? That's why
That's
I've always
right.
told my son, and you can beat yourself up all day long. You're your worst enemy, or you can build yourself up
I
and
always say,
find a
that's
way
right.
to work through it. Yep.
100% Alexa. And I always say, you know what? If there's enough people out there that are going to do X to you, you can be your number one champion, your number one
Mm.
cheerleader. I happened to be a varsity cheerleader when I was in high school.
Where are
Don't know.
you?
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. So, that has really taught me so much about how to be our
Mhm.
own cheerleaders. Literally,
Mm.
pretend you've got little mini cheerleaders around you,
Mhm.
rooting for
Mhm.
you, supporting
They're
you.
rooting for you, and not
Mhm.
to, it's easy to go to the negative. It's harder to go to the positive. And that's the whole thing, is that, you can go down that rabbit hole of the negative, or
Oh,
you can climb or walk or baby steps with the positive, even if you're finding it to be a difficult day, a difficult year, a different, week, whatever it is,
oh,
there's people like you and others that can actually help you work towards that. You know,
no.
you're not alone in this world, and that's the beauty of what I'm trying to put out there.
I
My
love that,
journey is
Alexa.
your journey, and
It's
take my
our
hand,
journey. It's our
follow
journey.
me,
Right.
and I'm going to take you to as many people as possible.
I love it.
I'm going to be doing podcasts till till the next
Alexa,
20
you're
years.
amazing. Alexa, I always say it is always best to use words like we, us, and our rather than I or you, because
Yeah.
honestly, when we
Oh,
realize we're together and connected,
mhm.
wonderful things happen.
Yeah.
I want to share, you had mentioned about negative or positive
Mhm.
or having a hard time. My mother recently passed away.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. And
That's tough.
I feel very blessed. I remember when my father was hit by a truck, I
Mhm.
called her up and I said, "All right, we don't know how long you've got to live, but let's make the most of it." I said,
That's
"What's on your
awesome.
bucket list?" I said, "I don't want to
Aw.
wait till you're older. Let's do it now." And we just started doing both our bucket lists. It was great. But when she did pass away, one of the things I realized on a spiritual level, and how to go from the sad feelings to the
Mhm.
positive feeling, was I realized, and this was my own epiphany, the day that she died is the date that she left earth and her human body, but it is her birthday of entering heaven.
Absolutely. So that's beautiful.
And when we can realize, you know what, we celebrate birthdays. So in heaven, they are celebrating the day she died here, left
Yeah.
Earth,
Right.
because it's the day she entered
Mhm.
there. And so they're celebrating there, right?
Right, right.
So all of a sudden, I realized I no longer focus on birth date or death date.
Mhm.
I focus
Yeah.
on two birth dates, the day you entered Earth and the day
Mhm.
you entered heaven.
Yeah. It's such a blessing to see it that way. Um, and the fact that you're honoring your mom in that aspect, and the
I
fact that
believe
you
so.
see that even with your dad, that you saw, I missed that moment with you, but I'm gonna do it with my mom.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
My pleasure. My
That
pleasure,
was
of
special.
course.
So, oh, we're not done yet.
Yeah. I have a
Okay.
funny gratitude quick story.
Do you? Okay.
I happened to have spent my last birthday with my dad, and it was a day of chores. He needed this chore done and that chore done, and I was complaining the whole. And I'm not to him, but I was like, I can't
Yeah.
believe it. It's my birthday,
Yep.
but we're busy doing chores. He died before my following birthday.
Wow.
And I remember feeling grateful and gratitude
Mhm.
ever since, that it doesn't matter what I did with my dad. I got to be with him on my last birthday with him.
Yeah, that's huge, and that's
And
such a great memory and such a great thing to
yes,
hold in your heart. I mean, that's
that's
wow.
right. And now instead of complaining of all the chores he made me do and all the lists and all the things that I didn't want to
Yeah,
do, I was so great. I focused on, and
on
I
the
was with
gratitude.
him. And I was
Mhm.
with him. That's the
Yes,
most important.
that's a beautiful gift to be able to have had that and to be able to hold on to that, and especially when it comes to your birthday because, you know, you could have gone down the rabbit hole on that one, and
100%. How often do
it's
people do go down the rabbit hole?
oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely, and especially when they focus and I within a year and a half lost 6 people.
Oh,
So,
it's devastating.
my dad was within 4 months of cancer, and
Oh,
then my
goodness.
sister did herself in the day before my birthday last year. So, it's not easy to come about and go, "Okay, let's find the positive in it," but
No, that's
my
right.
family was going, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Look, I'm gonna focus on the good and what I
Yeah.
remember of that person and honor them that way."
That's
And that's the way I
beautiful.
see it. I may still have emotions that go up and down because that's just part of grief. You
A
come and
hundred
go,
percent. You
you
know what,
know?
Alexa? I will admit to you, I think I'm a very mature person. I'm very responsible. I'm accountable. I have great
Mhm.
self-reflection. And I believe it's okay to have 5 minute self-pity party.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's 3 minutes and sometimes it's 10 minutes, but it's important to acknowledge our sadness, our pain, right?
It
Because
is.
the first step of grief is denial. And if
Mm,
we deny that we're grieving, right, how do we then mourn and complete the mourning process and all of its stages if we're not even acknowledging that we're grieving?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
good for you, Alexa. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I went out and found a grief counselor, which
Mhm.
helped. And then I decided to go with a trauma specialist because there were some things that came down and I worked through them. And that's what I want to do for other people, is to be able to have that, to know, hey, I'm human and you too can go on a journey, and it's okay, because no matter what happens in your life, there's someone there for you.
It's beautiful, Alexa. I
Yeah.
earlier I'd mentioned to you that the five areas that match and matter:
Mhm.
physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially. For me, there's a financial saying that I think is really relevant here, and that with your loss and my loss and other people's loss
Mhm.
on those who are our listeners. And I want to acknowledge for anyone who is listening to your podcast or to TikTok, or any social platform, that I'm sending my condolences and my
Mhm.
love. But I want to share that I think what's relevant is the financial term of short-term gain, long-term loss. I think that if we don't allow ourselves to grieve in the now, it might look pretty today, it might look short-term gain, oh, we're doing great, everything is fantastic, but in the long term, it will bite us where we don't want
It
it to be bitten, right?
it will manifest itself in some ways you do not want it to happen.
Right. And it will manifest in the most explosive way.
Mm,
So better to
yes,
do it now.
I
Yeah.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree 100%. So I'm gonna ask you another question.
Well, first of all, Alexa, how are you doing with all these losses? I know we're here to talk about me, but I just want
Oh,
to
that's
open
okay. You
the
can ask me questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I, April was difficult because
Mm,
April is when my sister. It was 7 months after she tried to commit suicide, and then she actually
mm,
accomplished it. And
mm,
my dad had passed away in April. So, April used to be my fun month for, because it was Easter, it was my birthday, and the spring was coming. But I've learned, to look at it in a different way than to look at it as a negative way as I was looking at it. And part of it had to do with, it was just overwhelming, the amount of people that were going, and I was kind of jealous. I was like, man, seriously, I'm still here. But it was the fact that my mind glitched, and
mm,
I actually went into sadness, extreme sadness. And
mm,
I suffer from PTSD because I was in a
mm,
car accident. And I thought that I could manage it, and I found out I couldn't, and I needed somebody to help me manage that. And
mm,
so within a month, I started to write myself, and she was, you know, kudos to her, because she was the right fit for me. And, my grief counselor I also had was beautiful, and she saw when I was starting to spiral, because I had met her 4 months after my dad died. And she goes, "Oh, you're changing." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Okay, I don't believe you, but sure, I'm going with that," because I was in denial, and
mm.
so literally each day I would thank God, and I would sit there and go through the fact that, you know, I can help other people if I just work on myself and find that place to put my sadness, which was pretty much just let it go. Let it
I
go.
love.
You can hold them in your heart and your mind, and you can't change the past. It is the past. But what you can do is hold them present and honor them in your heart and your mind, and let other people know that are grieving. It's okay. There's no time stamp on grieving. There isn't. I mean, my brother's been gone 28,
Mhm,
31 years, excuse me. And it's like it was yesterday. But the
mm,
thing is, I know where he is. I told my
um,
dad when he was dying, the last day I saw him, I said, "I know where you're going, and it's beautiful." And I laid beside him a little Jesus card, and I had written on it, "I love you, Stephanie. It's okay to go home."
oh,
You know,
oh.
everybody's waiting for you, and it's a beautiful place, and you don't have to stay any longer.
So I'm going to ask you, what self-care do you do, Alexa, now, and to
Um,
help you
I
with
have
this?
I actually have 2 little tiny dogs, and
Oh,
one of them is my, well, unfortunately, she's gonna be passing away, but she's my personal dog that I have that's been trained. And then I have a little tiny, which is a little terror. He's a little Yorkie, and
oh,
they keep me, yeah, I have teacup Yorkie and a teacup Maltese, so, it's made me have that sense of comfort, and it's something I look forward to actually take care of them and then taking them outside and,
Yes,
enjoying the air and, again, like driving. And read. I find things that make me happy. I'll get my nails done. I mean, that's a luxury. You know,
absolutely.
I'm in the hair business as well, and, I listen to a lot of people, and just to be able to spend that time with them makes me feel good.
Thank
You
you for
know?
sharing, Alexa. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course.
That's awesome. Okay,
Okay.
another question. Okay. Let's see. Right. Have you let anybody go, like people in your life, because of your self-worth, and why?
One of the hardest things I'd ever had to do was let go of someone, even though I was still madly in love with them.
Ah.
And I've made many TikToks on this, and it had become my mantra for a long time. If I can say goodbye
Mhm.
to someone that I was still in love with because I love me more, my mantra was then I can do anything.
Yeah.
And the second, one of the other hardest things I'd ever done was I called off an engagement 6 months before the wedding.
Okay.
And everyone's like, but he's wonderful, he's amazing. And he
Mhm.
was. He's a
Mhm.
10 out of 10. To this day, he's still a 10 out of
Mhm.
10. He's just not my 10 out of 10.
Right.
And I had no idea what was going to happen. I met my husband 4 years later. But I think it is so important for people to understand the whole concept of short term gain, long term loss. And
Mhm.
the opposite is penny wise, pound foolish. I could have easily said, you're right. It's convenient. He makes me dinner
Mhm.
every night, but that would have been penny
Mhm.
wise. But
Right.
my name's not Penny. I didn't want to be penny wise.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
wanted to, right?
Mhm.
I wanted to be pound wise. I wanted long term. I wanted someone that I knew that could entertain me, love me,
Mhm.
be there for me, and vice versa. Because for me, it wasn't just what the partner can do for me. It's
Mhm.
do I love them enough to do for them? Right.
Right. Right.
And he loved me tremendously. And I had to say no to that. And the ex that I was in love with tremendously, but he wasn't in love with me. So I'd experienced both kinds of love.
Both kinds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, I've got stories. I know we're close to our time, but with friendships, the same
Mhm.
thing. I think it is so important. When I say the physically,
Mhm.
emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially, and the emotional, a lot of times when we're feeling something, we don't
Mhm.
acknowledge that it's actually our body of saying, this is good, this is bad, this is safe, this is not.
Mhm.
Go for it, don't. Step away or go for it. And I think that we need to really acknowledge that. And in fact, the ex that I was so in love with,
Mm.
I got the message and I moved on. And Alexa, you won't believe it. I don't know how he found out or what happened, but when I met my husband, we were dating 9 months. He reached out, asked if we could have a cup of coffee. I was willing to meet him only because I was like, why? What's going on? I
Why?
was worried.
Yeah.
This was an old
Mhm.
friend. I was worried that something happened. I thought maybe he fell ill or his parents had,
Mhm.
his father had fallen ill. And I even asked my husband at the time, he was my
Mhm.
boyfriend. I said, look, he wants to meet. What do you? He goes, go for it. Literally, anyway, that's a whole other story
Mhm.
that I'll tell you another time.
Mhm.
He proposed to me at that coffee shop.
Stop.
I did not see that coming.
No, you
I
didn't
would
see
have
that one
saved him the
coming.
trip. I would have, yeah.
Seriously. Wow.
So, but, right. So, but you know what? It is, sometimes you just need to know how to prioritize yourself, not just when to prioritize yourself.
So I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and tell us about your business.
My business, I so appreciate that.
Yes.
I was a school principal for 30 years
Oh, wow.
and loved every bit of it. It was amazing. I've helped thousands. I was a school principal in Los Angeles, in the San Francisco Bay Area,
Mm,
even in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But I have to say, all of that experience, because it's all relationships. As a school
mhm,
principal, yes, there's the educational component, but it's relationships with the kids, with siblings, with students, with teachers and parents. And I'm able to apply that. And now, as a Martha Beck certified coach,
mhm,
I am grateful, speaking of gratitude, that I act as a muse to help others in their 20s, 30s, and older how to let go of their ex to find their next, and how to make sure that their next doesn't become another ex. And honestly, how to put the brakes on broken hearts. And
yeah,
it's it's a dream come true that I, I they say we all have three different careers. I'm
mhm.
blessed with an amazing, phenomenal, extremely successful career as a school principal. But I guess the universe said you still have more to offer, and I'm grateful that I we're working in partnership.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because the fact that you're so giving and that you actually are sharing about yourself and you decided to go out and help other people, that is your purpose. You
Thank
might have done the which you were helping people, as far as a principal, because let me know, I know about principals. My mother's was an art teacher.
Oh,
My son spent a few times in the principal's office. Um,
oh no.
but it's just the fact that you are giving and you're helping people, and that's huge, and that is your purpose. That's huge.
Alexa, what would you say is your purpose? You've shared a
My
few, but what's your favorite purpose?
my favorite purpose, and I believe this is why I've always been here, is to help people. And that I
Beautiful.
can able to tell them about some things that I've been through, and maybe that it resonates with them or experience that they're going through, and then maybe tell them something I've gone through, and they feel so much better because they're not alone. And that's my whole purpose, is as my journey is. And I've, before I lost my mind for that short minute, was I've always done it. I just never
Mm.
made it a priority, and now I am. Now I am, and I would love to interview you again because you're awesome.
Oh, Alexa, I had so much fun. This was really great. What's a final message you want to tell my TikTok listeners or those who are on my social media about how they can find you, Alexa?
Okay. Well, right now I'm on TikTok. I'm not live yet because I don't have enough followers. So if you guys want to follow me, go right
Oh,
ahead.
okay,
Um,
I'll send a shout
and
out.
I'm
Alexa,
definitely working on how to host the podcast, and I have many of them. And I'm under for TikTok. It's called Sterling Possibilities because anything's possible.
beautiful.
And my
Sterling
journey is,
possibilities.
yeah,
Mhm.
is to give you back that love and that hope, and hope that you find any of my TikToks, inspirational, because I'm human and I kind of tell it like it is. So,
The best
you
way to
know,
tell it, by the
and
way.
I'm open about myself, and if I can give you some knowledge of what I've been through and make you feel like, hey, I'm human, it's okay. It's okay. And just keep walking because I'm right beside you. And there's so many fabulous people out there that I'm going to be, basically doing more podcasts, and I'm going to do another one with you. Maybe we'll do it for a while. I mean, it's awesome because if we can change, like I said, one person's life, or it resonates with you, something that we've said, that's huge. To me, it's such a blessing and honor, and it's a gift from him.
That's 100%. Alexa, I would love for us to end this by saying you mentioned that everyone's fabulous. I want to say you are fabulous.
Thank you.
And I send our listeners a fabulous day and a fabulous week. And
Awesome.
may everything bring intrinsic power
Yes.
with fabulous sterling possibilities.
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
I
My
appreciate
little
you.
heart. My little heart.
Oh.
Aw. Okay.
All
You
right,
take care.
wonderful. Okay, you
Okay,
be
bye.
well. Thank you so much. This
Okay.
was so
Thank
much
you.
fun. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.